Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The draft just ended pretty recently, and I'm giving my thoughts on what different teams did because I currently can't sleep because I'm so excited. And so I might as well use my time to talk about some NBA stuff. Today we're talking about the Hornets, who I think probably were one of the teams that won the draft. Uh, Before I talk about them too much, I just want to say that I've appreciated all the support I've gotten recently on the channel, so I would really appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. Like I've said before, it helps you because you get more NBA content, and it helps me because I love the support. Back to the Hornets. Without further ado, let's get right into it. They drafted LaMelo Ball with the third pick, and I've made it pretty clear throughout this draft process I feel pretty strongly that LaMelo is the single best player in this draft. And I think that he's got a pretty significant gap over James Wiseman and Anthony Edwards at the top. I think there's a chance he grows into a top 15 player. If he develops in the best way possible, he can become above average defender at the point of attack due to his length, athleticism. Well, he's not super athletic, but he's athletic enough, and height at the point guard position. He's going to be an elite ball handler and an elite playmaker. And if he can shoot the ball at a league average mark, yeah, this guy's going to be really, really good. I could see him being like a 20 points, 10 assists type guy. Like taller Rajon Rondo, pretty much. And that is a really, really good player. So I love this pick for the Hornets. I think that right away it's going to be a bit of an odd fit as he learns how to play with Terry Rozier and Devante Graham, who are two other established guys in this backcourt that also have a lot of skills. I think particularly him playing with Rozier could be very interesting because Rozier is a really good perimeter shooter. He's elite off the catch and shoot. I think like a top 5 catch and shoot player in the entire NBA. So I think that Rozier could be the perfect backcourt partner for LaMelo Ball moving forward. The fit with Devante Graham is a little iffy since Graham likes to have the ball in his hands a bit more. However, Graham is really good at attacking closeouts, and he's also a really good spot-up shooter, similar to Terry Rozier. So both of those guys, I think, are going to be okay playing alongside LaMelo. They can both play the two a little bit, and due to LaMelo's height, I think he's going to be able to guard some twos. It's going to take a lot more effort than he showed with the Illawarra Hawks in the NBL in Australia. But if he can make good on his potential in the defensive end of the floor with increased effort, I think that there's a chance that this really, really works out. Up the lineup a little bit, it's going to be super fun to watch LaMelo Ball throw lobs to Miles Bridges in transition. Bridges is a freak athlete, and Ball is one of the better passers in the NBA, so that's a bit of a dream result there. PJ Washington is going to be interesting. Maybe he can establish a bit of a pick and pop game, but really the guy who interests me setting screens for LaMelo is Cody Zeller. Zeller is really nothing more than a stopgap starting center who can play the position competently, but is definitely not a star by any sort of standards. But one area where Cody Zeller plays like a star is in screening. Of course, ball screens is where this guy is a star. He's a star ball screener. Uh, he does a great job putting a body on someone, really does a good job of adjusting depending on how the defender reacts to the ball screen. And I think that LaMelo can really take advantage of that with his excellent playmaking ability. And he also has a really sneaky good floater that he can hit at a solid percent, and is a really effective shot because he can get it up over rim protectors. So I think that that could be an interesting development with Cody Zeller. That pick and roll game could be very fun to watch. I think they could also do a lot of stuff where they're running sets where LaMelo and Zeller are running a pick and roll, and off the ball you've got Terry Rozier, Devante Graham coming off of like a floppy type screen where there's a couple of guys setting screens and they're running the baseline trying to get open for an open look. That would make a lot of sense to me. Just the amount of shooting and the amount of offense that the Hornets have on their roster going into this makes me really excited because Ball is going to be able to create for those guys and get them open looks. So I think that the Hornets have a chance to have a really, really solid offense next season. The questions come more on defense. Can Devante Graham and Terry Rozier be competent defensive players? They kind of weren't this past year as they were both below average on that end, and if they can get up to average, this is a chance to really work. Can LaMelo give that effort and become a good defensive player like I believe he's capable of? Can he improve his frame to become a better defensive player? Can Miles Bridges take a step forward as a guy who can take on those tough assignments on other teams and guard big wings to a really solid ability? Can Cody Zeller do a good job on opposing big men? If all of those things happen, I think the Hornets could contend for the playoffs next year, but that's a lot of coulds and ifs. So if those don't happen, and I'm sure not all of them will, then I think this ends up being a super wildly entertaining 30 to 35 win team that's going to probably have a top 10 pick again next year and have a chance to add a young center to this really solid young core. In this outgoing free agency class, they're losing Bismack Biyombo, Willie Hernan-Gomez, and Dwayne Bacon. None of those are huge losses, as at this point, Biyombo is probably a third or fourth big man on a team. Hernan-Gomez hasn't shown much potential as anything but a guy who can score in the post, which is a wildly unvaluable asset in the current NBA. And Dwayne Bacon has shown flashes of being a solid defensive player, but really can't shoot it at a high enough level that I think that it's worth keeping him around. So they're not losing much in free agency, and they have a solid amount of cap space. I think that they should really be chasing after Christian Wood. If you can bring on Christian Wood, it's just going to increase that offensive potential to the max, as Wood is a really good scoring big man. He can also space the floor. Imagine a starting lineup of LaMelo Ball, Devante Graham, Miles Bridges, PJ Washington, and Christian Wood. There's a lot of offensive potential there, and that would be a super entertaining team to watch. So I think that the Hornets should give Wood a solid offer sheet. I would be willing to get into the mix of something anywhere up to $18 million annually. So like a 4-year, $72 million contract would probably be the most I'd be willing to offer Christian Wood. If the Pistons match that, you can move on to the next best center in this class by my estimation, and that's Hassan Whiteside. I get it, Whiteside has gotten a lot of flack over the years, but when he is giving his full effort, he can be a really good rim protector and rim runner on the offensive end of the floor, which I think could bode very well for this Hornets team. As long as you can get him to buy in and give all that effort, there's a chance that you're bringing in a guy who is the perfect addition to your team as someone who can establish pick and roll chemistry with LaMelo Ball and be a solid anchor for your defense on that end of the floor. A last guy I would really consider if I were the Hornets is Derrick Jones Jr. Pretty much just another shot at a guy who's kind of similar to Miles Bridges as a freakish athlete who can probably guard some of the better players in the NBA. If Bridges or Jones Jr. developed their jump shot in that situation, you'd end up having a really solid wing to play alongside your two guards of the future in Ball and Graham. And I love that backcourt. I think it's going to be one of the better backcourts for years to come due to the ability those two have to really play off of each other well. Graham, the good shooter, and Ball, the great playmaker. I think that's going to be really entertaining. And overall, in case you didn't notice, I'm just really excited about this team. I'm excited to see what kind of guy they can bring in free agency, especially someone like Christian Wood or Derrick Jones Jr. would make it really exciting. I think that they're going to be great on offense, but they're going to struggle on defense, and they're probably going to be a 30 to 35 win for that reason. This is just kind of a summary, so if I'm repeating myself, that's intentional. And overall, yeah, I'm really excited for this team. I think that they did a great job in the draft. Oh, I probably should talk about the other guys they drafted in the second round. I don't think they did a great job. I think there were better big men on the board when they drafted Vernon Carey and Nick Richards, but Richards particularly excites me a little bit. I think he'll probably be on a two-way contract because I don't really see him as a guy that's going to be ready to contribute NBA minutes next season, but if he can improve his jump shot to the point where you're comfortable with him taking three-pointers, he's got enough game on the defensive end of the floor as a rim protector to where I think he could be an interesting player. Vernon Carey is going to be an exciting guy on offense. Once again, just adding to the excitement this team brings me on the offensive end of the floor. But on defense, he's really got to improve. He's not much of a rim protector, and he's too big to have any sort of versatility on that end of the floor. So if he can get better on defense, then maybe you've got something there. But I really don't see it with him or Richards, and I think that they would have been better off drafting a guy like Paul Reed from DePaul if they wanted to take a big man in the second round. And I also think Daniel Oturu was on the board when they drafted Vernon Carey. I would have liked that pick better as well. So I love the LaMelo Ball, but don't think what the rest of the stuff they did in the draft was great. But they nailed the third overall pick, and that was really the key for this team. For that reason, if I were giving them a grade, I'd probably give them an A or an A minus, with the A coming from LaMelo Ball, and maybe it goes down to A minus because of what they did in the second round. But overall, super excited for this team. Think they're going to be a lot of fun. Definitely a team I'm going to be tuning into on League Pass frequently this season. Yeah, let me know in the comment section what you think. Do you agree with me that LaMelo Ball was the best player in this draft and that the Hornets are absolutely a winner? Let me know. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I think that's going to be it for me. Oh, I did want to mention that the reason why I didn't talk about the Warriors is because we don't know the results of Klay Thompson's really unfortunate injury. It's really sad. He's coming off of that torn ACL, and now it looks like he may have a ruptured Achilles. So just got a feel for the guy, but hopefully it's not too serious. And yeah, you can expect that video about the Warriors once we find out about Klay's current condition. We'll see if I want to make one about the Bulls or the Cavaliers tonight. I'm starting to kind of get tired, but I might be able to get out a couple more videos before I really start to hit the brink of exhaustion. So, yeah, I think that's going to be it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you all again very soon.